Welcome to the Observe Day podcast, the show where we celebrate the days that matter. From holidays to meaningful observances, we bring you inspiring conversations, stories, and ideas to make each day count. Whether it's raising awareness, learning something new, or simply sparking joy, this is your space to explore the calendar in a whole new way. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to share today's observance with you. Let's dive in. Today on Observe Day, we are joined by Dr. Daphne Erhart, a psychologist, best-selling author, and founder of Spa for the Soul. With over 25 years of experience helping people transform stress into strength, she combines psychology, NLP, and self-care practices to guide others in creating their own soul spa, a space for deep emotional, mental, and spiritual rejuvenation. Having traveled to more than 70 countries and lived her own message of balance, joy, and freedom, Dr. Daphne inspires audiences to live intentionally, manage stress holistically, and truly feel amazing from the inside out. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Daphne.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wisdom, for having me.
Yeah, you've been helping people manage stress and nurture their inner selves for decades. What inspired your journey into psychology and wellness coaching?
Ooh, what inspired me into wellness and psychology? Well, I've always wanted to help people. Even when I was a teenager, I thought, what would be my gift to the world? And at first, I thought I was going to go into the healthcare, like the physical healthcare. And then I realized what really had my heart was the psychology of people, what people are going through. Um, I remember, I remember having a client, a patient when I was a nursing major. At first, I was a nursing major and she was dying, and they were bustling around her hospital bed, taking care of her physical needs, which of course is very important. But I wanted to just sit there with her and talk about the most important things, just be there psychologically and emotionally, human to human connection, I feel is so important.
Yeah, well, I love your origin story.
I had no idea
Yeah,
I would be sharing that today. No one usually asks that question.
it's always important to see where a person starts from because that also gives uh, uh, a pattern, to why they do what they do.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
I decided to go into psychology, and I got into the health and wellness and stress management because, everybody has stressors in their lives. It's part
yeah,
of being alive is having stress, and how we manage it can really affect our life, how we experience life in such a powerful way. So getting to be an expert on managing that stress is such a game changer, a key.
yeah. Thank you so much for giving us a sneak peek towards your background, how you got into psychology. While I was
My
reading out the
pleasure.
intro, one of the terms I called that was a soul spa, right? Uh, what
Yes.
does creating a soul spa really mean, and how can we build one internally?
Mm. A soul spa is learning how to take care of yourself inside. Just the way, when you go to a regular spa where there's a massage or there's all kinds of spas, but there's usually a relaxing theme and a rejuvenating theme to it.
Yeah,
And our soul, our inner self also needs that. Even though we focus on our physical body, our inner soul and our heart and our mind, we also need to rejuvenate and relax and replenish that too. We can't just be going on high speed all the time. So a soul spa is kind of like a step back or a pause. It's just a pause where you can focus on whatever that is inside of you that you want to rejuvenate. Um, from moment to moment, day to day and year to year throughout our lives, we have needs and we have inner patterns, and we might have a pause during today, for example, and realize, oh, you know what I need more of in my life? I need more support, or I
Yeah.
need more uh, creativity, or I need some relaxation, or I need mental clarity. But we don't know what that is until we take that step back and really let our inner self tell, just listen to your heart. What are you craving today? What's my soul's deepest craving today? And then fulfill it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I like that. It makes sense. As we're talking about International Stress Awareness Week, I love to
Yeah.
for us to start from the beginning. Through your work, and what are some of the biggest misconceptions you people have about stress?
I think that some big misconceptions is that stress is outside of our control, and that um, to manage stress, we have to constantly work harder. There are a lot of misconceptions, but stress isn't always bad. It's normal to have stress. It means that you're having excitement or doing something in your life. That's another one, I guess, that stress isn't always bad. I mean, people go to amusement parks, they go and try to have new experiences, and in a way that's stressful, but that's a good stress. There are two types of stress, and eustress is actually a good stress, and it creates new neural pathways in our brain, and that can be good. But then if it's a chronic sense of dread, that's the kind that can really weigh on our nervous system and start to create even create disease. We become in fight or flight mode. There's a lot of cortisol suppresses our immune response. So that's what I would say as the common misconceptions for stress.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
A lot of people they ignore the stress, right? And these
Yeah.
carries on into the body and also the mind, and it affects those what some
Mhm.
or some early signs we could look at to know that we.
Yeah, I think mhm. Yeah, I think that people do push away stress, that almost as though if we ignore it or say it's not there, it doesn't exist. But, stress is part of being human, and it has a huge relationship with our health, our relationships. So, when we start to feel, we all know when we feel stressed, sometimes we can't think as clearly. Sometimes, we just don't have as much motivation. We feel tired or have some physical um, ailments. So stress comes out in different ways with different people. Most people would know, when they're stressed, but that they usually just don't know what to do with it and feel like maybe if they could just do better or be good enough or this or that, or if the outside circumstances weren't there, then life would be better. But there is a way to manage the stress and I'm talking about the difficult stress, that we're not asking for, the long-term stress. And so it's not always bad, but the type that harms us can be managed. And I'll go into some of those things in a minute. Um, it should be managed because we don't want to always be in fight or flight mode. We don't always want to be in that state of emergency. It's very dangerous to always have to have that stress response in our body or emergency response. There are some things in our DNA called telomeres, and they're the very end of the DNA, and they're like the little, at the end of the shoestring, there's those little tiny things, usually plastic cover at the end.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, well, it's like that. And some of us have longer ones and some of us have shorter ones. And these telomeres have been associated with longevity. So the longer the telomere, the longer they've correlated people to live, which is amazing. And they are influenced by stress. So it can literally change how long we live, um, and the quality of our life. So mindfulness and meditation is one way to lengthen our telomeres and deal with stress. And there are some other things too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, given your travels to over 70 countries, right?
Yes.
How do cultural or lifestyle factors contribute to how we experience stress globally?
Cultural lifestyle factors. Wow. Well, there are cultural differences in stress. Stress is universal. It's throughout the whole world, but there are differences between country and country, or even within the same country. Um, there can be somebody who is very stressed and barely able to have basic food, clothing, and shelter. Or there could be someone who has plenty of food, clothing, and shelter, but they have a stress of a relational, maybe they're in an abusive relationship, or there are all kinds of stressors throughout all kinds of parts of the world and cultures. It just, we kind of use the word stress as a global experience, although whatever, stress is subjective. So wherever you are in the world, whatever you're experiencing, if it feels overwhelming, if it feels unbearable and you feel dread over a long period of time, chronic, and that becomes very unhealthy. And that's the type that we're talking about today. So we all share the same biology. The stress response inside of our body is the same. We all need to feel safe. We all need to feel connected, and on purpose. Um, and and stress reduction doesn't require luxury. It doesn't mean so.
Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind the scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
We don't have to go to a spa to actually reduce our stress. Some things I'm going to share today are ways to reduce stress that are internal. They're completely inside of ourselves.
Yeah.
And it begins with awareness.
Oh,
Do you want me to go through some of those things?
yeah, please do.
Okay. Well, if you had some other questions, I'm happy to answer those first, but I
No,
could also
no,
just go straight into it.
yeah, that
Okay.
was, yeah, yeah.
All right. I'll
Okay.
just go straight into some of the things. Yeah, it can be as simple as moving your body, shaking our body, dancing, exercise. Moving our body can release stress. It's so healthy for us. Um, Getting enough rest, drinking enough water. There are there's research on how micro pauses in the morning when we're first waking up, or in the evening when we're falling asleep, our brain waves are in a certain pattern that gives us more power to kind of program our life in the morning as we're waking up, and in the evening as we're falling asleep.
Wow.
So in the morning, for example, when we wake up, they found that there are two things that we could do that will focus our day in a very positive way, um, and kind of have a protective barrier around us. And that is upon waking up, first thing is to think of something that you're grateful for. It can be as simple as the sun shining, or it could be anything you want. It could be some relationship you have, your your family, your um anything. And then as you so there were two things. One is gratitude and one is purpose. So
Mm. Okay.
saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. My purpose today is to, and that can be anything too, whatever it is that personally brings this feeling of motivation, joy, excitement. It could be my purpose today is to express myself to the best of my ability on this podcast, or my purpose is to love my children today. Anything, a positive purpose that you wholeheartedly feel um, congruent with. So those two things in the morning, first thing in the morning, can really protect you from stress and also focus your life, and also um, helps those telomeres become longer, which is associated with a longer life. Same
Yeah.
thing with in the evening, doing a similar thing in the evening, letting go of any stresses that you might have had during the day, anything on your mind. If you let it go before sleep, you can have a more restful sleep, and use those times to. It's kind of like what do you call it when you're on a diet, or when you're being purposeful in your life. You're saying, okay, I am going to train my brain to do this and this and
Okay.
this. Yeah. So that's one thing. I have a few other ones, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing those
Hmm.
things. Um, one of the things I noticed, we're talking about self-care as a tool for stress, for dealing with stress. One of the things I've noticed is that many people, they struggle to prioritize themselves, right? Amid responsibilities,
Yeah.
what are some mindset shifts that could help someone overcome guilt around self-care?
So your question is, what are some mindsets that they can have in prioritizing themselves and
Yeah,
inner
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. So
inner
they
self
don't, they
care?
don't, so
Ah.
they don't feel guilty taking care of themselves.
Oh, yes. One of the things, very simple thing you can ask yourself is, what do I need right now that I'm not giving to myself? It's not selfish to pay attention to what you really need. It's not selfish because when you fill yourself up inside, when you feel whole and at peace, you have more to give to the world. And that could just be in your presence. Have you ever been around somebody and you don't know why, but you feel extremely tense around them, and then another person where you feel like everything is okay in the world just
Yeah,
by their presence?
yeah,
Yeah. Amazing. It's amazing how somebody's nervous system being aligned can affect just the people they're in the same room with, whether they say anything or not. So,
oh,
one thing that you can do is just ask yourself, what do I need at this moment? And then, and even in a little way, just start giving it to yourself. I have created an app called Soul Spa, and this is the first time I'm actually sharing it because it's very new. It's not even out yet. It's probably gonna be released in the next month, in November, most likely. And it's called Soul Spa, and it basically is a very easy way to do this. It
wow,
gives you a clarity break. So during the day, you can take a short break, and even for a minute of silence, you can just ask yourself, what do I need right now that I'm not giving myself? And
yeah,
then start to give that back to yourself. It also helps you focus things in the morning and in the evening, and gives some free meditations. But I like how you are focusing on, what about the internal things that we can do?
yeah,
What can we do to actually feed our soul? Um, Another thing is uh, visualization. Visualizing what you would like, and it might not be your whole entire dream, but it might be the first step towards your dream. What is the next right step for me? The next step for me towards my goal or my dream. And you take it, and then you take the next step, and you take the next step, and you keep on doing it and celebrating your successes. And pretty soon, a year later, you'll look back and you'll say, wow, I did a lot this year, even though every single
Yeah.
day difficult stuff, I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's pretty cool.
yeah. Well, you talk about living the life of your dreams. How can
Yeah.
people move from, surviving stress, dealing with stress, to a place where they are actually thriving and just finding purpose and, living the life?
Yeah, that I would say the first step is to get in touch with your purpose. Um, and I'm saying these things as very simple statements, but this can take a while to really get into touch with what am I truly living for? What am I here for? What is my purpose? We all have different gifts. Somebody's purpose could be they're just a very, loving, inclusive person and just want to nurture other people. Other
Yeah.
people might have the gift of teaching or of leading or whatever. But I think the first step would be get in touch with what your purpose actually is. And then there's a visualization exercise I go through where I kind of take people on a meditation and then you kind of visualize the end goal for today. Like, let's say today you have a goal of, um, having this type of life and you picture it in detail. Like when I wake up, I will wake up in this room, in this home, and who's going to be next to you, what you're going to have for breakfast, what you're going to do during the day, what you're going to, um, think about from moment to moment. Who are you going to interact with? What are you going to contribute to the world? Why do you want this dream? What do you think that dream is going to get you? And usually that becomes a feeling. Usually people have a dream or a goal or a purpose because they believe they're going to feel a certain way, whether it's peace or joy or feeling whole, feeling good about themselves. There's there's a reason why people have their goals and their purposes, and it usually fulfills a deep need.
Well,
So,
yeah,
get in
absolutely.
touch with what that is, which might take a while. You might want to do this with a therapist or a person that you trust or um, somebody that you are doing life with, and then from there you can think, okay, what would the step right before I reached this? What would the second to last step be? So let's say you're living, I don't know, in your dream house, um, with your dream job. What would the step right before that be? For
Yeah.
example, I'm just making this up. It might be closing the deal on the house. Okay, so that's the step right before that. And then what's the step right before that? And what's the step right before that? And what's the step right before that? All the way back until now. And then you've reverse engineered your dream into steps from where you are until that goal. That's a little hack some people use. And I would say just to give yourself some grace, you can't it's good to have goals, but when you get so focused, hyper focused that you're creating more stress inside of yourself, then it's better to enjoy the things you have from day to day. Enjoy the process. If your goal is to have a huge home to support a family, enjoy the family that you're with right now. The
Yeah.
love. The love is really important. So, yeah, so there's a lot of little tips and hacks, from day to day. But one of the main reasons that we do mindfulness, meditation, visualization, and all of these micro pauses and things that, really simple, they're actually really simple things that we put into the Soul Spa app, is that repetition in the brain builds the wiring. People have habits of, and the brain is part of your body, and the brain health is based on our mental and internal habits. Other people don't know what's going on in our brain, but we have a mental way of dealing with life, of thinking, behaving, of acting. And when we start to do that on purpose and say, wait, I'm spiraling into stress. Let me take 1 minute, go off by myself somewhere in the bathroom or something, take 1 minute break, and then be in charge of where my brain is for that 1 minute. You will come back breathing different.
Yeah.
You will
Well,
come back slightly different and able to handle the same situation in a slightly different way.
find the deep
That was
need. Because
what?
most of the times, I think, no, what you said, I'm just reiterating what you said. Find the deep need. Most of the times, the reason why we're stressed isn't necessarily because there are things that stress us so much. It's just that um, even though we do every other thing, the main thing that we want to do is just there and it's not getting done. And for some reason, we're worried, we're anxious, we're overwhelmed, we're scared, we're afraid. All this leads to being stressful.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Just find the
I
deep
prepared
need.
I prepared a lightning round of a couple of questions, quick fire questions. You ready?
Oh dear, I'm terrible at quick fire.
No,
But sure,
you do
why
great.
not? Go
Okay.
for it.
What's one activity that instantly calms you down?
Taking a deep breath, taking 3 deep breaths and focusing on the exhale.
What's a book or quote you live by?
Oh, a quote? There's
A
one by
book.
Amelia Earhart. A book? Oh,
Yeah.
a book or quotes.
Oh,
I don't know. I mean, I've written some books.
okay.
I think I would rather go with the quote.
Please do. Feel
Um,
free. Yeah.
um, okay, thanks. So Amelia Earhart, I think she said a quote like, everybody has oceans to fly if they dare, something to that effect. Like we all have our oceans to fly, our goals, our big dreams. And, if we only dare to get into that airplane. So I try to
Well,
remember to make that
yeah.
step.
What does soul freedom mean to you in one sentence?
Your questions are very difficult. Um, in one sentence, soul freedom means wholeness and peace and congruence.
Yeah. Pretty much that's it.
Okay, that was a good
uh,
one to end on. You
yeah.
have deep questions, Wisdom. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
thank you.
Yeah.
During the conversation, you mentioned the app Soul Spa, right? And you also have resources. Where can we learn more? And also connect with you.
Sure. My website is spaforthesoul.com, but it's the number 4. So the number 4, thesoul.com. And I'm also on social media. Instagram is Dr. Daphne. Um, I have a YouTube channel called Soul Spa Travel. And on the Apple and Android app, pretty soon you can just look for Soul Spa for the app. It should be
Wow.
on there. There are a few other ways to find me, but those are the main ways.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. I'll add all the links in the description so listeners can click and go directly to the site. Thank you, Dr. Daphne. It's been a lightning and fun conversation.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much, Wisdom. Thank you for your meaningful questions. It's been a pleasure just to talk with you today.
Yeah, my pleasure. That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.